Okay, so in Dreamweaver, we did a little bit on Tuesday. There's a file that's in Moodle, and it's going to be on your topic. We did a little bit with setting up our new site in Dreamweaver. We created little sections for the header and main and footer. We added our own little logo, so we all came up with our own little logo and added that, and then added a menu. So the little bit that we did here, when you set up a new document, so again, just as a reminder, there are several different types of documents that you can begin with. We did a file new to set up our new HTML doc type. We can pick all sorts of different doc types. We had not yet created our cascading style sheet. So we could have attached it right here, but we did not. The other thing you can do is create a new cascading style sheet. There's also other types of documents. There's all sorts of templates that are helpful depending upon the type of website that you have. But again, we're kind of at square zero, so starting at square zero with all the pieces and parts and building our own the hard way. So the doc type HTML was in place for us. The head content, as you're aware, was in place for us. The meta character set UTF-8, same thing. We did have to supply our title. So again, those of you that are new and creating your own for catching up, so you would start your title for your company. We also added the viewport. So remember, that's telling the content to size the width of the device basically at 100%. And there's some really great functions that are available within Dreamweaver that help you out a lot. One of which is viewport. So if you go to the insert panel again, you'll find viewport in the meta tag area that we also will get to here in just a second. So that's done. We started a few keywords I think we're going to have to add, but again, in our insert panel, added a couple of keywords. You can type them in here. I can go back to the box and continue on. The description of your business, again, the same thing here, my insert panel. It's the name of your company, so it's not this website, it's Bodog Designs, photographs your beloved pet in the great outdoors, or in your house, I don't know, whatever you want to say. We created a new cascading style sheet. There's not a whole lot there, but we did do a little bit. And again, I just went, same thing, create new cascading style sheet. And we added some HTML elements for padding of 0, margin 0. These are all in the file, by the way. The box sizing is equal to border box, meaning that at the width, if you're designating a width, it's going to account for the scrolls and the borders and all that good stuff. And that will give you your size, so it's not going to be slightly different. You choose your own font family. I chose the Constantia, Lucida Bright, and again, just as I described the other day, so if the computer that's viewing your website doesn't have the first one, it's going to look for Lucida Bright. It'll go all the way down, and if it can't find any of those, it's just going to pick a serif. So that's how that works. And then we added a little bit of padding, and again, just 32 pixels means it's all the way around, a little bit of padding to your website. And we attached that file. That was through the Cascading Style Sheet Designer panel. And there's a little plus sign, and it was an existing file because we had saved it with, your name, whatever your initials are, or Bodog styles, whatever you want to call it, and then attached that file. So that's within the head content, and that's just a reminder of kind of where we were at. Within the body content, we added the section header, we added the section main, and we added the section footer. And again, those are all in the insert panel, header, main, and footer. We also added nav element, which is here as well. We've not styled our nav yet, we just added it. And then we did the same thing we did with our other assignment, the unordered list. Inside the unordered list, we have our list item for index, which is our home nav element. So the hyperlink reference there. We maybe only have a couple of files. We know exactly what they're going to be called right now, and we added those. The other thing we did is we placed this within, so it's a one column, one cell. So we're going to be experimenting with adding columns and rows, boxes in other words, and formatting our boxes. So anyway, we place this within one row, one column, and when you click on it, you can kind of see that. Isn't that interesting? Today I'm seeing Bo. Do you guys have, remember, was your image displaying the other day? Mine wasn't. Then it did? I don't think mine ever did yesterday or Tuesday, did it? Isn't that weird? So there's Bo. Yeah, he's so sweet. Anyway, and then, you know, after, so we have not added anything to main. We've not added anything to footer. Again, the end of the body and the end of the HTML is there. We only have one page at this point. The document object model, just a little bit about what's here. And oh, by the way, this is really important. So we did this as well, and there's instructions on the Word file. But you do need to, for every web client you have, you need to set up them as a client in a new site. So when you go into set up new site, and I'll go to manage here in a minute because now that we have one, we can manage it. We can type a name, and it can be in uppercase, lowercase. It's whatever reminds you of your client on the name of the site itself. That was in site and then new site. And you probably already did this, but in a second, I'll take you to manage sites. So those of you that set up the site, now we can go to manage site. So don't set up another site unless you need to. So we named it the other day, and then we browsed to our document area, and all of us collectively named a folder. This is our root folder. Okay, it's all lowercase letters. Mine is Bo Designs. It could be Bo Dog. It could, whatever. It's my company, whatever it is. And it really isn't my company. I'm making it up, but it's my company. Where I might have a space, I don't want to have a space. So this has to be legible by Macs, PCs, Unix, all sorts of different platforms, whatever those are online. So you want to have all lowercase and no spaces and no weird characters. So usually the only couple of characters that I recommend are the underscore and the hyphen. And then I created fall 2019 for my own purposes. We'll stay here, but I do want to show you that I also created one folder to organize our assets. So it would be our images, and it could be video or sound or button backgrounds, whatever you think you need to organize. So anyway, my root folder then would be Bo Designs, and then if I went to advanced, my default images folder would then be assets, and then I would say okay to that. So I'm going to cancel that whole thing. Oops, cancel, cancel. And you would get something that looks like this. So now that we all have our site set up, so you can go now to Site Manage Sites. So once your site's set up, Site Manage Sites, and you'll see that your site's here. Okay. So if I had 5 clients, all of them would display. If I want to edit something about Bo Designs, I can double click it and I get exactly this same window. So I could change the name. If I have another folder location for whatever reason, I can re-navigate to that folder location. If I've deleted assets for whatever reason and decided to split it out and organize it differently, I could change that. We will eventually add a server, so that will be the server for you know, the student web server you post finally. By the way, I don't think a lot of you have turned that in, but you probably don't have access to the student server yet, do you? Remember that assignment for, okay, so we should be sure that you try to get yourself set up. There are a few students I know that did that. So I was grading and trying to update grades. I'm like, oh, you don't have access yet. So, and I know we couldn't have access because my class wasn't started in the beginning. It was my old class. So we do have to change that.
When you're naming your site, can you have spaces in your name?
When you name your site, yes, but not in your folder.
Oh, okay.
So like up here, this one here, the name, or if I go to edit it. So this is just simply for me, and that shows up here. So I can name it whatever I want it. I could name it Johnson if that was my client.
Yeah.
I could name it that. But my root folder, if anything's going to be pushed anywhere, I don't want to have any spacing, uppercase, weird characters. Yeah. So that's the only downside there. If you just, again, with what we've done here, when we first started, we had the site and we had assets. That was it. Okay, and this works just like, you know, how you can close things up. I can close this whole folder up just like any file management. My assets, so you may not have anything in there. If you were here Tuesday, you probably did your tiny logo, whatever that logo was. And by the way, this one's a phone size logo. I don't know that I would use that for my tablet or my desktop. So I think most of you might have at least 2 different versions, probably a phone one and a tablet desktop one. Some of you might even have 3. So that's going to be your choice. But I would put all my images that I know I want to use, and naming images is the same. Bo_logo, all lowercase, and it happens to be a pain. We all have an index file. So when we set this up, kind of in its raw form with, let's add a header, let's add, or header, content, main, and footer, we saved it before we did much of anything. We saved it as index.html. So that was just our home file. And then those of you that know, and I know I haven't graded your assignments yet for the web topic. I think I've talked to most of you about yours. But to add other files on the site right here, so it's blue way at the top, if you right mouse click, I can at the very top add a new file. And then it calls it untitled, and then I can just type in a name. So that's a really quick way to add files. And I can also, we'll do this later, but if I knew that every single page should look exactly like this, I'm not at that point yet, but if I was sure, I could go File, Save As, and I could click About Us and save it and replace my blank. So if this was kind of the skeleton, I have my logo, I've got my cascading style sheet attached, I've got my viewport, I've got my navigation, maybe I've got the structure of my boxes set up, maybe my footer contains everything, my contact information, my phone, all that good stuff. So that's a quick way just to kind of save that skeleton. Other pieces and parts on this window. The document object model is, and in a lot of ways, it's very similar. It depends on how you like to look at things and how you think, I think. If I click on my contact, your index, wherever you're at, within my body, inside the header, inside the division for row and the division for column, I have a navigation element within an unordered list. The list item and anchor is here. Okay, so that's exactly the same thing that it's telling me here. The document object model is the same thing within my HTML document, in my head content, body, header, same thing. So it's kind of, it's a visual. Some like the document object model visual better, and you can just click on them, you know, to find things. Same thing here. If I needed to go to main, I can click on main too. So there's tools, you know, good things and bad things about each one, I guess, or how you like to work, and other elements available. And these can all be kind of closed up too. So I guess shrinking, that's the plus part too, although these, let's see, these can be closed up too. So there's really so many things that are similar. If I go to my header and I don't want to see that whole block, I can just click the little triangle and it closes it up. So a lot of similarities. Assets. So if you want to click, do you see the document object model, assets, and then snippets? Okay. If you don't, you can go to standard, and we entered in standard screen view. You can reset standard and it should show you all of what we have here. Anyway, I've only got one thing here now for an asset. Colors, I don't have any colors named. I don't have any URLs. I don't have any movies or scripts or templates, and nothing in the library. What's nice is it does show you the little picture guy there. It does show you a picture of what that is. So if you're curious, you know, you've named a couple of things similarly, it's kind of nice. You can click on them. Snippets are just little, normally little applications or I don't know how to describe those, I guess. Shortcut applications. So anyway, if you want to have the document object model displayed, you can, or you can go to the little, here, this little guy looks like a little hamburger, 4 lines, whatever. And then I think just close, and that leaves assets and snippets. You can choose to have snippets or not. All these do a little slider up, down, just like a lot of other applications, which is handy. And that really helps when we get to the Cascading Style Sheet Designer panel. So if I had a lot of files, when I slide that down, I'm going to be able to see them. My insert panel, I will probably still have to do a little bit of scrolling up and down to see all of them. And by the way, the insert panel has insert for regular old HTML, for forms, templates, bootstrap components, jQuery. Will, for the most part, be on HTML. Cascading Style Sheet. This does require some movement. I usually try, because we're going to be adding different sources or working with our style source, we will be adding media queries and we will be adding new selectors. And we will want to see the properties. So it is helpful to at least start by kind of moving these out. You probably don't need to make sources that huge. Maybe we'd have, you know, 1 or 2, I don't know. Media, there's not going to be a great deal of those. Selectors, there might be a number of them. And then properties, we may have some scrolling that we need to do at some point. And we can also close this. So if you don't want to see assets, that whole thing, we can close that down. And you know, it's good because I can see my color assets and my links. So there are some useful things here that are different from just the physical, the files. So that's what the difference between my assets and my files panel. Those are my files. Versus looking at assets, it's everything I've designated. I might be working with the corporate color, and that corporate color shows up there. Okay. The file itself that we worked with, and we just about, I think, got done with everything. So we created a new, we added our title, keywords, description, we added our sections, we made our little logo, we added the logo, added a couple of one row, one column. The logo actually fits inside that one little cell. We created some space while we did all this. We also added alt text, so that's something that you kind of have to just think about all the time. Whenever you add an image, it used to be that there was a little property inspector and that box was always right there, which was helpful, but it's good to add some alt text. The navigation bar, again, we added our own navigation. saved it. We made sure that everything is properly nested. And there was an error in this one. It does, so I wanted to point out, it helps you out. So whenever you see a red, and it may even give you a little hint, but that was missing or is missing the list item. So you can see the opening list item on portfolio. It's missing the closed list item there. So I think that really ended that assignment. We completed that on Tuesday. So I'll go ahead and close that one down. Back into Moodle. So we'll continue on by creating our new, or modifying really, our cascading style sheet, because we did create some of it the other day. Okay, so the other day we did this top part. So we stopped right there. We created a new file. We added the HTML elements with padding, margin, box, border box is described there. We added whatever font family that you want to choose. We added some padding around that header. We linked, so this is kind of one of the last things that we did there. We linked that cascading style sheet. And in Dreamweaver, again, in your cascading style sheets, there's a little plus guy. So I can have multiple cascading style sheets, but with the plus, we had already created it, so we just attached, but I certainly could create a new one. Define in page means to add a style within the page, and remember that can be okay, but it's only going to affect that page and not multiple pages. So it's less efficient if you have to do that for 5 or 10 or 100 pages versus once in the external cascading style sheet file. Previewed. Okay, so we'll continue on, and I'm gonna make sure. Okay, so we'll go back to our cascading style sheet, and remember the image. So IMG is a tag, so whatever we do here is going to affect every single image. So every single image is going to be wide 100% width. The max width is 100%. So in other words, as the window grows, it can't go bigger than 100%. The height will be auto, and so it's going to proportionately grow or shrink. And then the vertical alignment within the window, or within the box size itself, will be middle. And then body, margin left and margin right actually centers it within the larger window itself. So we'll go back to Dreamweaver and to your cascading style sheet. And again, if you want to open this up and skinny it up so that you can see it all at the same time, you sure can do that. You have to do that. Turn that one on. Around there. So we did the header, and I like to add space. Again, it's just simply an organization thing. So the image, again, it's not a class. If it was a class, I would begin with a period before it, but we're actually going to overstrike the tag with our settings. So IMG space. Again, my left curly bracket, I can go ahead and enter key to create a line there. Dreamweaver helps you out a ton. You can just start typing and find width, and then I just need to type in, so it's going to be 100 and then a %. And so each of, as we did on Tuesday and as we did prior when we did a cascading style sheet, remember that semicolon ends that particular instruction. Okay, so then our max width, and again, most likely comes up and helps you out, is also 100%. The height is going to be auto, which is an autofill, which is nice. And then the vertical line is middle. Then once you get the image element in, again, I create more space and we'll add the body element. So this is going to overstrike the body tag. In other words, everything in between body, opening body, ending body will have an auto left and an auto right margin. Okay, and then save this, so file save. And remember, this will be goofy, so that's okay. Remember on Tuesday how when you went to file and then real-time preview and we went to Chrome and it says it can't because it's trying to find, you know, a precise number for that. So we'll close that down. If you go on the tab itself and then right mouse click, and I can open it in my browser, it doesn't matter which, you should check all of them actually at some point, but now it can open, and it is way too big because I've told it to go 100%. But if I shrink this down, so I'll go to my little restore here, and I can shrink it up a little bit. And it stops here. I looked, does anybody know why it doesn't shrink down any further? Adrian, do you know why? I tried to look at this. I was looking at settings forever, like advanced browser settings, because that never used to be the case. I could always shrink it down as far as I wanted it. Yeah, I don't know. And maybe the browsers all have. I haven't tried other browsers. Maybe I should do that. See if it's just Google. Yeah, I was like all over the place trying to look for the setting, you know. It'll take me just a second to open this one. I'm just curious because we used to be able to size way down. Yeah, Mozilla, I can. That's a little bit smaller. So it's got to be something maybe with Chrome. And then, I mean, Edge is probably going to be pretty similar, I'm guessing. Yeah, probably more similar maybe to the Firefox one. Anyway, that's too big, obviously, because it's 101 pixels is all it is. So, all right, I will go ahead and see. We'll size that back out. Anybody have issues with that so far? So it centered within the window. That's what the auto and our 100%. Okay, so then the logo, especially in my case, doesn't look very good. We already added the image itself, so we'll just have to stylize our logo. So we'll do the same thing, and again, I can make that a little bit bigger, but the logo style, we'll do the same thing with the margin left auto, margin right auto, and we're going to display it in a block format, and then everybody's will differ. So if the width of my little logo is 101 pixels, then I probably want to make it really close to that. So if you have a 500 pixel width, then that's a different setting than mine. So again, I'm going to go into my cascading style sheet. Now this one is different in that, so note how it begins with a period. So period style hyphen logo. So this is going to be a class. So again, I can go to my body, so it's not overstriking a tag. So period style hyphen logo. I think that's how I formatted that. And then begin, and my margin, left, auto, right, same thing. And I want to display it as block. And my maximum width is the size of my particular image. And again, we'd want to save it. And then I can come browser to browser. You can be in the large view, refresh it. That should. Why didn't that refresh? Oh, I know why. You'll know why in a second. It's really easy. So we changed the cascading style sheet file. What we didn't do is, where's my image? Remember how we had to add styles? We had to add the class to the image itself. So nowhere have I told it to use that style. So then I have to tell it that. Okay, so image, and then I can add it at the beginning if I want to. So the class equals, and as soon as I start my quote, hopefully it finds it for you. That's the other nice thing about this application, is it finds what's already created. And then you just need to be sure to add that space. So we added a class, and we don't have to add period style hyphen logo, it's just style. And it located it for us. So then when we file save, and you can try your browsers, refresh it, and it should get smaller because I told it to do 101 in my case. Margin left and right means it's centering within that area, whatever size my browser is. Same thing here, smaller, and edge, same thing there. Huh, that's weird. Edge didn't. Okay, let's go back here. I wonder if edge doesn't. Oh, now it's okay. It just didn't refresh for whatever reason. It wouldn't. But they all appear quite similar. And we can go to our cascading style sheet. So let's just see what we've got here. We may, I'm going to make my screen full here to show a little bit more. So I'm going to go ahead and close my asset panel. I can always get that back again, but just so that you can see a little bit more. And we've created actually quite a few styles that we can now see within our cascading style sheet. So if I click on my cascading style sheet, yours will be called whatever you called it. And these are all global styles. Global means they apply to the mobile phone size. So global means they affect everything. And you really first design, when you're starting to design, you design it global first, which is the phone size. And then you start building from there. So my HTML, I can see exactly what my settings are, and you can click on the HTML. You may or may not, in fact, I'll move this up a little bit, you may or may not see show set as checked. So if I do check show set, it's telling me that my settings for HTML were the box size border box. I've got margins of 0 all the way around, my padding of 0 all the way around, and I can change my font family at any time. I can trash can my font family. I can change it right now if I want. Okay? And that's affecting everything. My header, the only thing I did there was add 32 pixels all the way around, so that's a little bit of space, basically. And again, I can trash can each individual, or I can trash can the whole thing. If I want to add more properties to my heading, then and I'll explain what each of those are here in just a minute. But if you uncheck show set means this is what my definition is right now. This is what you told me to do. So if I uncheck that, these are other options, and there's a whole bunch of them, and then you can even add more. My image, so again, I'm going to go back to show set just because it's skinnies up what you can see there for a minute. We told it to view at 100%, but not bigger than 100%, and to auto height whatever the view is. And then we told it to align it in the middle. The body, not a whole lot there. We did tell it to auto margin left and right. And then our logo style, we've got a maximum width, display in block format. If I undo that block format, it's not going to adhere to the margins left and right. Okay, and to get rid of something, so the block format, you need that command in order for the auto left and right because of the line it's on. So if I remove block format by trash can, it goes back to where it was in the beginning. So the auto margins left and right don't help me out. So I'm just going to edit and do that. And then again, file save all is a good idea if you save any. If you do file save, it just saves index. If you do file save all, it saves every tab that's open. So sometimes you make changes, you know, slight changes to other files that you have open, and again, if you neglect saving it, it won't save. And then the other thing that's kind of frustrating too, but there's a reason for it. So if I do save just index without doing save all, and then I go to preview it in any of my browsers, if I go to these other pages and I've not saved it, that can be confusing too, because then the changes aren't made. So it's normally a good idea to save all. Not forever, ever, but usually. Just to try some of these functions, let's go ahead and give yourself some space at the bottom. So on this Word document, there's some kind of handy dandy little shortcuts. So if I type, and let me get that back down again just so it's easier to see. And I'll move my window around. So we're going to get rid of all this stuff. But if I type A and press tab key, it helps me out with my hyperlink reference. And then if I started typing, and I don't think I haven't, let's see, bow, nope, oh, index, it'd be it. So, or contact. So if I then start to type one character that I know I have something of, like my contact page, then I could easily choose that. And again, I'm going to get rid of this stuff. Another one, so link, and press tab results in my style sheet, and then I can just browse. And again, if it's CG styles, you know, there's my style sheet. I'll do another one. Again, we're going to delete this stuff, but .ROW with a tab. Remember, oops, that was a caps lock. Remember how we added a division for row and a division for column? So same thing here, but within my row, if I want to have a division for column, then I'd want to do .COL tab, and now I can put something within, you know, type garbage. Last one. Oh, there's a couple more. So P, and you'll probably use paragraphs quite a bit. So remember, paragraphs also give you structure, so you get the kind of a double space above and below. And then you can style paragraphs. You can either style with your P tag. Remember, if you style a P tag, that's going to style every P tag everywhere. So you'd probably want to have a class, which, you know, dot center or dot small or something like that, whatever you think you need to call it. And then another one is button, so a period button, and then tab, and then that results in a button. So I'll go ahead and remove all those. Those are just some kind of fun little useful shortcuts. And again, so I think we've kind of gone through this document. So really this was just adding the logo, a little bit of the body. So I'll close that one. Back to Moodle. Oops, there we go. Here to the web. It's hard to see if I'm not in full screen. So another one is to style the navigation bar. And we did quite a bit of that. Remember when we created our initial student story one, we had the same thing, bullet, underline, bullet, underline. So this is going to be similar in a lot of ways. So go ahead, open up your style navigation. And so just looking at this, and I'll make this a little bit bigger so you can see it. So the style itself, remember the problem we ran into with the unordered list, and we used cascading style sheets to style the UL and the LI. So we couldn't have bullets anywhere unless we had that little, we added a character, that's all it was, character. It wasn't a true bullet, but we made it work. So because we were just using straight old tags, unordered list, list item, unordered list item anchor, then we had some issues. But if I create a style, a class basically, so the class type that then I can apply to my unordered list, my list items, and my anchors, then I'm going to go beyond that problem. So that's going to help us out. So we want to be sure that we're in our cascading style sheet file, and then we'll add some of these. So I'm going to go back. Let's do a file save all. It looks like I did do something here. Oh, I was just playing with it. I didn't do anything, but I was playing with it. Okay, and again, where you put this, I'm going to go ahead and create space, a double space down there after the style logo. But if you think that logo should be somewhere else, you can pick that whole block up and move it around. Again, your organization and how you organize things is your own. I do recommend, though, that you put nav elements and such together because I think that makes more sense. So we'll go ahead and start with line 35 there. So the first one is a class called style, and I guess be consistent if you're using a hyphen or an underline. So my example uses a hyphen for the most part there, but I guess whatever you want to do. So period, style, and then hyphen, and I'm styling my nav, and I'm styling my nav unordered list. And then I space, and then I can put my little, oopsie, yep, curly, whoops, that's the wrong bracket. Shift, curly bracket, enter key, and then I want my text align, so I can just start typing TE, text align, and I want it to be center. And then I can do my little semicolon. And then I want my list style type to be none. So I can start list style type. And there's a scroll list. So there's a whole bunch. See all my list style type can be all sorts of things. But I want it to be none. And then I end there. We'll do another one, my style nav for my unordered list item. So the whole unordered list, the text will be aligned center with no list style type. And if we wanted to, if we did a file save and came back here, did a refresh, why isn't it? Oh, I know why. Same thing. So I go back to my index and my nav. So nav plus, and then, or not plus, but space, and then class equals, and then style nav, and then file save. Okay, then I don't remember which browser I was on. Okay, that's helping a little bit. Okay, so I'll go back and make sure you did that the same way. So we'll go little by little so that you can see what each of these do. So I added my style nav for the unordered list. Remember, that's start of unordered list to ending unordered list. I've told it to align the text at the center and to take the list style type off. It's none. Okay, and then to apply, so I need to go to my index file and I need to be in my nav. Remember the starting nav and the ending nav? So I need to be within there, add one space, and then I can type class equals, and then it should probably try to help you out. My class equals style hyphen nav. And again, if you chose style underscore nav, it would be that one. Okay, so back to our cascading style sheet. I'm going to continue on down. I might enter a bunch so that you can see it on screen. Does that help? So it's higher up on the screen. Okay. So for me, line 40, so I'm going to do another style. So my dot style, it's the same thing. It's a nav, but this time I'm styling my unordered list and then every list item in between there. So in this case, it would be the unordered list and all of my list items. Okay, and I'll go back again there. And then I do my space and I do my shift with my curly bracket and then enter key. And this one is just going to be display block. So I can just probably start typing a D and it should help me out. Block. Remember, I have to end with that semicolon. So let's go file save. You can do save or save all. I don't know that there's a whole lot of change at this point. So I think once we get to the anchors, then we're going to see the change. Okay, so we added the list item, display block, and then we'll continue on. So same thing will start, period style nav. This time we're going to style our unordered list, the list items within, and the anchors. So again, it's this one right here, the style nav for the unordered list, list items within, and anchors within. And I have to do my space again with my shift curly block, enter key, and I need to do a display block here. And my semicolon, and I am doing padding of 8 pixels. If I just do an 8px, it's going to affect the top, bottom, left, and right. You can do separate if you want to change them individually, but we'll just do all of them. So padding, it should find it. And 8px is all of them. And what else are we doing? Oh, text color black. I wonder if it's just color, text color emphasis. I think it's just color. And you can pick from your library, you can pick from the colors that are there. There is a plain old black that we'll choose, but there's a ton of choices there. I'm going to go ahead and, at this point, will be easy and choose black. And text align center. Text decoration none. The text decoration none is the underline. You know how all of our nav elements have been underlining? And text transform, we'll do something even different here. Text transform. I think I've got uppercase. So I'll wait till you catch up with that and then we'll see what that looks like. Does that help if I blow up my window a little bit? They shouldn't be. Okay, and you have a text decoration of none. And we can go double check. So I'll go ahead and, I haven't checked mine. I'll go ahead and save it. The other thing, make sure that you have, so like I've been consistent with dot style hyphen nav. So they all have to be dot style hyphen nav, and then designating your unordered list item anchor. And then within your file, did you also add class equals style hyphen nav? So in the nav area, you did that. So try file, save all, and let's see if mine, so it doesn't do that. I'll try all my browsers.
Okay. Yeah, no,
Now does it work? Are they still underlined? For whatever reason, Edge, so I'm refreshing Edge and it's not working. Are you using Edge? Yeah, I think you might, I've had to rebrowse to Edge to try it, and you know, maybe we don't deal with Edge right now if it's not, because it doesn't seem to be refreshing for whatever reason. It is now refreshing, but I can't use the circle.
I don't have spaces in between mine.
Is that the padding? So let's go to Dreamweaver. Oopsie, Dreamweaver again. Do you have padding 8 pixels? 8px, and maybe a semicolon after it?
Oh, I guess.
Okay. It's so picky, and we'll go and add some, we'll add styles in another way too. So we're hand coding our styles right now. It didn't do it still? And you try your other browsers? Is that go to, yeah, you can actually go to Dreamweaver. And yeah, right mouse on that. Next, and then at the bottom, maybe try Chrome. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I know. So that, I mean, that's what I mean, is that's probably going to be something that you'll size down, but we can do that later. So far so good. You guys that weren't here, is yours okay? It looks like it's okay. Oh, you don't have, but those shouldn't be there. So that should be, let's go to your cascading style sheet file. This should be ULLIA. So you know how you have UL, ULLI. So start.
Okay, so
Yeah,
you have a UL.
UL space, and then save that, and hopefully that works. So I know you weren't here, you're good to go? Okay, and are you getting there? Okay, Chloe, how are you doing on it? Okay, so far so good. Oh, okay. Yeah, and so you are getting there, yeah. So we'll go today through, I don't think I'll move on to a new one, so I'll probably stop. There's a little bit more to do today, so we're not all done now. But the three that are posted, the three work files, that's where we'll go through today.
Okay, so
Yeah.
they're each going to be something.
No,
Okay.
and I don't have anything that's turning, that we have to turn in right now with this. But just if you can catch up to get through those. Yeah, so if you weren't here and fell behind, or just fell behind, so I just recommend that within the course itself, there's 3 files that we've been working on. So Tuesday we went pretty much through the first one. Today we went through create the new CSS file. We did the header and the HTML the other day, but image, body, style logo, and then now we're styling nav. So we will go through those today. And if you can get through that, that would be great as far as just catching up. So a little bit more, I'm gonna maximize my screen here again, and I'm gonna go to index. So all the work that we just did, and we'll go and add, so I'm gonna go another route here, but all of this could have been done in Dreamweaver super easily. So we'll be using Dreamweaver for the most part, but I wanna make sure that you understand still how to code cascading style sheets, fix them, troubleshoot to catch why something is misbehaving. So in our cascading style sheet, global, again, it affects everything. So global is phone, tablet, desktop, because we've not told it any different. So this is going to be everything, but normally web developers start here, and that really is the phone size. So we already looked at the HTML, we looked at header, we looked at image, we looked at body, and we looked at our logo. But now look, so we did the style nav for our unordered list. And again, we've got text aligned center, list style type of none. We did so everything that affects the list item should display in block. That means that it displays down, okay? And I'm on the style nav unordered list item. And then, again, maybe I'll move this down just a little. Wait, not that one. Oh, there we go. Yeah. Then if I go to my style nav unordered list item anchor, there was a little bit more that we had designated here. We are displaying it in block. Again, block is downward. I'm padding around it. You may think that 8 pixels is too much. If I want to do 6, so I can set my link, see how that link is set or broken. If I got it set and I go and I type 6, then now I'm at 6. So it changed it slightly. So you can adjust that yourself. If you don't like the color black and you want to go to red, and okay on that. Let's see, file, save all. A lot of times you may have to file, save all to refresh the color, but now my color is red, my normal color. Text align is at center. Text decoration, I don't have any. Text transform, I can capitalize and see what that looks like. So I can choose that one, file, save all. Looks like that. Or I can go to, oh, wait a second. Did I just, I wonder if I just changed the wrong one. The T tools, by the way, you can press the layout, the T. Text transform is here. I don't know why that went away. Anyway, then there's also, so capitalize, uppercase, and lowercase. Some people really like I got rid of the text style type. So there's my transform uppercase, I got rid of my text decoration of none. I was clicking all over the place. Anyway, I also am going to change that back to black because I kind of like the black in my own case. File, save all. Okay, a couple other things. So this would be okay for, you know, maybe phone size. I think I like it blocking down, but when I go to a big screen like that, I might actually like those to be in a horizontal line rather than blocking down. So I'm going to go ahead and change that. So now we need to add a media query. So is everybody kind of caught up? I want to make, nope. We can fix all those. Are you at the place where you see CSS? So if everybody can get to CSS designers, you've clicked on your style wherever that is. So go to your designer panel, click your style, and then you want to be able to see the media with a plus. So the most important part is be sure that your style is selected. And you can click off everything else, click on your style. So then what we're going to do is add a media query. And we did, I think, one media query with your student story. So that's the plus sign. And you get, when you click that plus sign, do you get this box right away? Okay, so that's a good thing. So the media itself, we can say, identify the orientation, or the min width, or the max width, or the width, or the height, the resolution, aspect ratio, it goes on and on and on, okay? So if we want to define our minimum width, so we want to choose our minimum width, and then at this point, oh, and let me go back again. Media can be for screen, for print, for handheld, for braille, for a TV. So I can even designate all sorts of other things. And I'll go back now. So what we chose was min width, right? Okay, are we here? Min width. And then there's a red box. Red usually means type something here. Okay, so this is where you judge, okay, where does it break from being down, because that's what my query is going to do, is quit going down and go across. And I'm going to tell it 768 is what, and pixels, by the way. There's all sorts of other choices you have here, but pixels would be appropriate. So it helps me out. The code is at media for a min width of 768. This is what I'm going to do, but it'll put this query here. So if I say okay, then it gives me the query. Then I can add selectors. So the little selector part, are we okay with this? In the media, we have a global and we have one min width of 768. So far, so good? Okay, then I want to see selector, and I want to add one selector. And the name of my selector will be dot style hyphen nav, so similar to what we've done, dot style hyphen nav, and then space, because it's for my unordered list items. My anchors won't matter, but my unordered list items will. Okay, so dot style hyphen nav spacebar, because that separates then my unordered list. Again, I spacebar list item. You can pick those. I mean, it's okay if you click them and pick them, or you can just simply type. And then if you're good here, so dot style hyphen nav space unordered list UL space list item LI. And you may have to enter key twice depending upon how you entered it, but it should turn blue and it should give you all of your properties that are available. And all I'm going to tell it here is so it's actually in this first grouping, the layout grouping, and I can see display. And if you click, so move to the little like past the colon, and I can see the set display. So there's inherit, none, block, list item, da 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 da. Inline block means it's going to place all those within the same line. It's inline, displayed in a block format. So it's right here. Okay, and we may like the center. Let's do a file, save all. Got just a couple of minutes here. So again, I'll refresh a screen that I know is going to work. There's some problems with this. I can see that. I've got home. There's a little bit of padding, but maybe I really do need to add more padding because they kind of run into one another. So I probably would want to reconsider. But again, then when I go below, so I should be at about 7, not that I can tell I'm at 768, but pretty soon here, I'm going to get to 768 and it's going to block down. So I'm at inline block now, blocks down there. And then maybe I even want to do something different. So we'll add one more. And again, I want to be in my styles. That's the most important thing, is just click your style name, whatever that is. And then same thing with your media, my at media, this is a media query. I'm going to add one more with my little plus sign. And this one is going to be a min width of 992. So this might be my bigger screen, my min width of 992. And again, pixels is fine. So I want it to do something else maybe at the big screen. And then I'll say okay to that. And I want to add a selector. This same selector is styling my nav, so same thing. Class will be style hyphen nav, and yes, I could type it. I'm adding it just actually for style nav, should be okay. And then enter key, may have to enter key twice. I want it to float to the right. And I can close that up just so you can see it, but float is kind of after like margin and padding and position. So it is before the text tools. It's past all the, you know, the blocks of margin areas. And again, you know, do you like this or not? This will be for you to decide. If I do a save all and I go to my, I'll refresh here. So at my big screen, maybe I like it to float to the right for whatever reason, and then it gets to the 770 or 768, whatever I told it, and then it should go to the center. And then when I want to get to the phone size, you know, below the 768, it turns into a kind of a mobile look. And I could make it change to a hamburger. You know, for mobile, it wouldn't even be names anymore. It might be a hamburger, and I get a little, so. And it should all be the same, you know, if you refresh, other than Edge. We know Edge has a little issue, but you should see the same thing for your other browsers. So I'm going to stop with that one today, so that should get us all to the same place. And if you're having issues, I can sit and look at what you have today and try to help you catch up. Okay. I'll stop my recording.